With that, we'll now go into something really dynamic and one of my best parts of the meeting. It is our financial report provided to us tonight by our city manager, Dr. Russell Treadway. Ladies and gentlemen, strap on those seatbelts because here it comes.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that this is one of your most favorite parts of all of our meetings, so we wanted to make sure we had one here at your last meeting. This is our quarterly report for the first quarter of fiscal year 2012. It contains the typical material that you have come to expect and enjoy in our quarterly reports. We have our overview of our fund accounting, and again we focus within these reports on the general fund and our sanitation fund, but as council knows, we have a number of other funds, and we'll take a brief look at the fund balances in all those funds at the end of the first quarter. One of the things that's new this year and new to this report is a cash flow budget for the fiscal year. As you know, our revenues come in rather unevenly during the course of the year. Our expenditures are fairly constant, not exactly constant, but we do run into a situation where during the course of the fiscal year we're running a negative fund balance for the current fiscal year, and you can see that on this chart where the blue represents our revenues and the month, our estimates for that particular month of the fiscal year. The red shows our expenditures there, and the green line shows the fund balance. So you can see, for example, through the end of the first quarter, within the current fiscal year, we've run a negative balance of about $1.5 million. And we'll get to which really underscores, I think, the importance that we've talked about for a number of years on being able to start the fiscal year with a strong fund balance and being in a strong financial position, because the first part of the year we're basically running negative numbers, and we want to be able to pay our bills and pay our employees on time. They appreciate that. This chart looks at the first quarter revenues, expenditures, change in fund balance, and our ending fund balance. And since we started to do this, we've been able to accumulate the data over now into our fifth fiscal year as we do that. So you can take a look at the comparisons, and you'll notice that 2010 and 2012 current revenues are down quite a bit below what you see in the first quarter of other fiscal years. That's largely attributable to the county's delay of the due dates on our property taxes this year. So we'll see all those revenues come in the second quarter, or the vast majority of those come in the second quarter. In the past, we sometimes get a little bit of head start on that and get some of that revenue in the first quarter. As far as expenditures are concerned, you can see we do remain pretty constant over the years. We're down a little bit on the expenditure side this first quarter from previous years, and we do have because the revenues were down, we do have a larger than normal negative cash flow during the first quarter that you see here. This is just taking a look at revenues by quarter, so we really is a little more interesting when you get into the third and fourth quarter of the fiscal year. But you can see that typically the second quarter is the quarter that we do receive the vast majority of our revenues in. Third quarter, first quarter and third quarter are generally fairly even, and the fourth quarter is really our worst quarter from a revenue production standpoint. Similar information for our expenditures, and again you can see really throughout the course of the year our expenditures remain fairly constant. We have a couple of blips in the second and fourth quarters where we make some debt service payments and things like that, but generally our expenditures stay fairly constant. This is kind of combining that information, showing the last 13 quarters, and again the blue shows the revenues, and you can again see how those go up and down depending on the quarter, and can see the red expenditure items again staying fairly constant. This is our look at the sanitation fund, our other major fund. Again, you can take a look at revenues, how those have basically declined. They're actually going back up a little bit as we're starting to see a little more activity in our commercial accounts. You can see the expenditures, again, pretty much reflecting and following what goes on in the revenue area and the changes in our fund balance. We've actually got our fund balance at least through the end of the first quarter this year. Our fund balance in the sanitation fund, we've been able to work it back to close to being zero. This is a look at all of our funds combined, and again, you can see where we are on those. We do have some fairly large fund balances, but again, the vast majority of those dollars are in our SPLOST accounts, which are reserved for capital expenditures. Here's our ending fund balance for all of our funds at the end of the first quarter. You can see our general fund balance is just a little over $1 million. The 2005 SPLOST about 1.8, 2009 SPLOST 1.9, and so forth as you move across there. So you can see where we are. The capital projects fund is our debt service fund, and we are required to maintain a fund balance in that fund that equals 1 year's worth of debt service payments on that project. So in conclusion, we're off to a good start, made possible by being in a strong cash position at the start of the year. We're continuing to draw down on our 2005 and 2009 projects, SPLOST projects. We had anticipated having a contract award on tonight's meeting for Briscoe Park Phase 2, which will be funded about half and half out of 2005 and 2009 SPLOST. We're going to ask you to defer that action on that tonight because of matters that your council's aware of, at least. And we have begun today. You'll recall that we did carry over, I believe it's $291,000 for street paving, which was part of the dedicated fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2011. We did start paving today, so we're starting to get asphalt down on the ground, and we will be putting that money to work, as well as the allocation for paving in the from the 2009 SPLOST. So with that, Mayor, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of the city manager? Thank you, Dr. Treadway. You know, when I leave council and be a citizen, if you would email me when these come up, I will make a special trip to attend these meetings. If not, just start without me. Thank you again. Dr. Treadway, I really appreciate that. You do an outstanding job. I mean, trying to look at the numbers and stuff, you've always known, I've always counted on your advice on that and your counsel, and I've always thought you've done an outstanding job on that, something that I didn't have to worry about. All right, with that, that ends our committee department reports. We have 3 items on the